Hey there, musical friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a real treat for you. I interviewed DJ Jeannie Ricusso, who used to DJ at Club Heat. Someone had mentioned Club Heat in the previous video that I put out, and I never worked there, so I went directly to the source. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. As a female DJ, and especially at that time in Buffalo, early 80s, mid 80s, what were the challenges that you had? And let me go back. Let me take a back step. How did you get into DJing?
That was easy. My first year at Buff State, I worked at BNY, and that turned me on to the alternative music scene. And then I started going to the Continental with my cousin Mark, and it just progressed from there. We would do promotional nights at some of the nightclubs. And and then I heard the DJs while I was waiting for our promotion to go on, and I'm like, I want to do this. Okay. Because, you go to a club and you want to hear music you want to hear, and no one was playing music like the Continental.
Right.
So I got into DJing because I wanted to play music I wanted to hear.
Oh, nice. Okay. And what were some of the challenges that you faced back in those early times when you going and making that transition from radio at BNY to going into a club? Because it can be a difficult situation for some people, because when you're on the radio station, I never had a radio show on BNY, but I invaded quite a few of them. And I was so gracious that these people like Tony Reno and Curtis and I can't remember how to pronounce Curtis's last name, Soma, DJ Soma, would invite me on his show and their shows. And I tell you, the mentality was different from when you're in a club than when you're in a room with all this technical equipment. What were some of the challenges that you faced going from radio to working in a club?
Well, the coolest thing in my first break as a club DJ came, Robby from the Goo Goo Dolls was DJing at a lesbian bar on Niagara Street. And a girl, it was Compton's.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that place. Okay.
So there was a girl that I was hanging out with who wanted to meet him. So I'm like, well, he's DJing, we'll go and meet him. So, and it just so happened the night that I took her there, he had just gotten the contract with Metal Blade.
Okay.
So he was leaving. And so he recommended me to Cheryl. And that was my first gig. And I kind of learned how to DJ on the job.
Right. Okay.
So it was really neat. And the women back then wanted a lot of slow dancing, and I wanted to play New Order and Depeche Mode. So we kind of got a mix going, and I would get a couple angry women banging on the gate going, "Why are you playing this shit?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I learned to mix and meld what they wanted to hear with what I wanted to play.
Okay. And so when you were in that situation where you were had a client or a customer who was confrontational, how did you diffuse? How did you handle the situation?
Well, luckily I had chicken wire between me and them at that club.
Oh, yeah.
But I would generally just, if you give me a half an hour, I'll mix into what you want to hear. I said, but there are other people at the club who want to hear this. And I think the worst part about that is because of the time back then, all of my guy friends couldn't get in because it was just uncomfortable for guys to go to a girls' bar. Okay. But then they, when they were brave enough and they would come in and I would play songs and then I would get in trouble from the girls because too many boys dancing. And then that's how I transitioned over to Club Heat because, the guys recommended me to John.
Okay. So what was your main format that you had over at Club Heat?
I started out doing a lot of house, hip hop, and like the beginnings of techno and some disco. I mean, I mixed it up because there were so many different people. So you would kind of format it based on the hours of the evening. So early on, you'd play really poppy stuff, and then you'd mix into some of the disco stuff for the older guys. Okay. And you'd get the hip hop crowd, and everybody just loved the down tempo stuff. So you'd do like Rex and Effect and stuff like that, and then you'd break out with Soul to Soul and go right back up until you're doing the really fun back in the 90s. It was like Marky Mark and all that crap.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So let's talk about the music back in those times too. How would you compare the music from back then and what was going on in the scene downtown Buffalo, and especially down on Main Street there, where the only other place that was on that stretch, the only other place on Main Street down in that area was the Jam Club. Yeah. So what were some of the things that were going on at, say, when you first started, and then when you were in the middle of your career there, and then when you ended, how did you see any changes that happened in that downtown scene?
Yeah, so at the point where Club Heat opened, they were pretty much the only thing in the neighborhood. There was a big parking lot around it, and it was always mobbed. And you'd play the music. I think I started there in the late 80s, early 90s. And the music progressed from all of that, where it was like high energy Marky Mark, CNC Music Factory, and things like that. And then it progressed to be more of the house stuff, like the JD and Frankie Knuckles and all of that really amazing stuff that I used to come and dance, when you were playing. And I told you on the phone, I would dance until I was soaking. There were a group of guys that we would go to the corner at the Jam Club, in that far corner, and we would dance all night and just rolling around on the floor. It was amazing.
One of the things that I noticed too, because we were lucky at the Jam to have that upstairs and the downstairs. Mm-hmm. So there was even more of a diversity of the crowd that was coming in there, because some people who came to the Jam would just go straight downstairs, and I never saw them upstairs. And vice versa. People that were upstairs, they might go downstairs to have a drink with one of the bartenders or knew the DJ down there. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty much, if you were downstairs, you were downstairs. If you were upstairs, you were upstairs. Do you have any highlights of your time at Club Heat?
Oh, for sure. So when I started there and the crowds got really big, I had a friend who worked for one of the record labels. And so she hooked me up with Billboard Magazine. And I became one of their DJ panelists. So that allowed me to get new music before everybody else. And the highlight was the two guys who wrote for CeCe Peniston. They wrote Finally.
Oh yeah.
They came into the club with the cut of Finally on vinyl before it was released, and I was the first club to play it.
Nice.
So and the announcement, and I introduced them, and the DJ, the floor just got packed. It was incredible. But that was the highlight.
I will say that finally, when that song came out, I saw a huge melding of different crowds, because it was housey, but it was also happy. Well, I guess happy in a way, but the piano intro going into the song itself, as soon as you played that, people would rush to the dance floor.
You drop your drink and you head out.
Yeah. Well, so where were some of the places that you would hang out when you were in the downtown? Even because I do know there were places out in the suburbs. I rarely ever made it out to the suburbs. I tried to stay downtown because I didn't want to drive. Of course, I was drinking.
Smart.
But where were some of the other places that you would go on your nights when you weren't working?
When I wasn't working, I would generally go to the Continental every once in a while. I would hit Cathode Ray just to sit and talk and listen to music. When Marcella's opened, I would go there. I wasn't a good enough DJ to DJ there. I did DJ at the Jam Club early on. When John decided to change City Lights into the Jam Club, I helped him with we started out with fencing around the dance floor, and we did the whole techno thing. It was kind of cool.
Okay.
And then that progressed, but and then we would go to Toronto a lot.
Oh yeah, okay.
We would do long weekends in Toronto when I can get the night off.
Yeah, we definitely did the same, because when I had nights off, I would love to stay in Buffalo, but Toronto, I mean, there was so many different. We would go to the Twilight Zone. We would actually leave Buffalo at midnight, drive all that way, and my buddy, he had a Mustang Cobra, And we piled 4 guys into this car, and we would head up that QEW. And I would tell you, I was kind of frightened because he was speeding. We would get to Toronto in, I would say, sometimes less than an hour.
Wow.
That's how fast this dude was driving. But when we got up there, of course, we went to the Nuts and Bolts and all these different places, Domino Club, and then we would end up going to the Twilight Zone. So have you ever been to the Twilight Zone or any of those places up there like that, the underground places?
There was a club called the Silver Crown, which I think was on
remember that.
King Street.
Yeah.
And I used to go there. And then there was a really cool gay bar on, I think it was Isabella. It was called, oh God, I can't even remember. It had a stainless steel dance floor upstairs.
Oh.
Huge.
On Isabella.
I think it was Isabella just off of Young.
That's
and you went upstairs.
Oh, upstairs.
Yeah. And it was like a warehouse up there, but the entire dance floor was stainless steel. It was just incredible.
Huh. I don't know if I've ever been there. I might be confusing it with another club, but Nuts and Bolts. And I'm trying to think back, and it's been so many years.
Well, and at our age, it's harder to remember.
Oh, you know what? I tell you, what's that? Ginkgo biloba or biloba? I'm going to start taking that stuff because I've heard good things. And I need all the help I can get.
I hear you.
What do you think in terms of the Buffalo music scene now? You're still in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, I'm in Amherst.
Oh, Amherst. Well, close enough.
Close enough.
What do you think is happening? How would you give me your assessment of the scene back from those days? And of course, it's going to be different, but today, in terms of those time frames and the progression of everything, or regression, depending on how you're looking at it.
Well, it's funny because back when we were spinning music, it was all about the energy on the dance floor because you knew your crowd. It was basically the same people coming in all the time, and they'd bring friends, but you knew the energy of the crowd. You knew how to play to them, and you knew that they wanted to sing along sometimes, and sometimes they just wanted to get into their heads and dance. And so you would play music based on that. And I think as the scene has progressed, and you know, I'm a little older, so I don't go out as much, but when I was going out, you go out and I think a lot of times DJs get in their own heads now, and they just want to be cool. Yeah. And they start to make changes to songs, and you start to get into it, and you get to that chorus, you want to sing along, and all of a sudden they drop out and do something crazy, and it's just like, really?
Oh yeah.
And again, all the kids, you know, on the dance floor were tweaking, and they don't care, they just need a beat. And back in my day, we were drinking, and we were doing poppers, and you know, there was this shit going on in the bathroom, but nothing that got you to the point where you couldn't go out and enjoy a song and sing along and throw your hands in the air. And, you know, as a DJ, you know the power that you have over people when they're in that moment. Oh, yeah. You tell them to put their hands in the air, they're putting their hands in the air. You tell them, take off your shirt. The guys are throwing their shirts off. There's a lot of power in that position. Yeah, there is. Speaking of that, then, have you ever been to any of the large music festivals like Ultra or any of those other, the Electric Daisy, what's it? Electric, I can't even think of the name of it. I think it is the Electric Daisy. The Carnival one. Oh, yeah. We did Voodoo Festival about 5 years ago in New Orleans. Okay. Which was really amazing because they've got like 6 stages there. And one area is set up just for electronic music, and then there's another stage that is you know, I think Florence and the Machine was playing at one location, and Deadmau5 was playing at another. Oh, interesting. And you have to figure out which one's more important to you at the time, but it's such a great atmosphere because you're meeting strangers who become friends, and you know, it's a great atmosphere. And I think Voodoo is a 3-day festival, and we went, you know, 2 of the 3 days because then there was a hurricane. But those are loads of fun, and you get to hear things that you're like, that would be great. Yeah, right. So let me ask you this then: are you still DJing out, or do you do podcasts, or what? Are you still involved in music at all? No, at this point, I listen to a lot of music. I have a full-time boring job. I'm in compliance, so it's really lame. But it's important though.
It's important.
Pays bills, it makes sure that people are doing things they're supposed to be doing, and for crying out loud, I have health insurance.
Oh, there you go. That's
those are keys, because you make money as a DJ, but if you're sick, you don't get paid.
Right.
And you can't, you don't have health insurance, and it's great for young people. But after I hit 30, I was like, oh, so I got a day job and a night job, and then that just wore me out.
Well, would you ever consider going out and doing special events, like not a regular full-time gig, but just appearances at special events?
A couple people have mentioned to me, like doing a fundraiser or something, and I'm always up, for a good cause. I would love to play music again. I know, about 20 years ago now, I had a flood in my basement and all my vinyl got trashed, and what didn't get trashed, I just got rid of, because I was just like, I'm tired of moving it from location to location.
Right.
But everything's on computer now. I don't even know if I'd know how to spin anymore.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, not everything is on computer, because some DJs will DJ with CDs.
Yeah, I've done CDs.
I was a longtime CD player, but before then I was, definitely into the vinyl. And now I'm actually using the USB sticks.
Oh yeah?
So I just carry my headphones, put my USB sticks in my headphone case, and that's it. I'm not carrying around these cases anymore.
Oh my God, how is your back?
I was thinking the other day, whenever I DJ'd somewhere, I would take at least 3 crates of records, the big crates, not those little small milk crates, but the big ones. And I carried those things.
Yes.
I don't know why, and I consider myself a pretty intelligent person. I don't know why I didn't think to get one of those hand trucks to load them up. When I worked at the Coliseum one time, I remember I couldn't find a parking space down the road. I had to park almost at Rue Franklin.
Oh my God.
And I had to lug all of that stuff down to where the Coliseum was, which was like a very big block away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand how carrying stuff after a while is just no fun. But and I'll just tell you this, and I'm going to bait you for this, but from what I understand, Music is Art is going to be happening in person in September.
Oh, nice.
And my suggestion to you is to go ahead, and I will send you the link, but okay. I want you to go ahead and submit and come and play there, because if you can bring your CDs, if you can get your music onto a USB card, there's all the stages have different specifications that they're working with, and they all try to group the same type of music on the same stages, but you need to be at Music is Art, because there's so many people who they go to Music is Art from back in they all know Robby and they support him, and that's why I've been flying up to Buffalo for 14, 15 years now, once every September, just to do his benefit, because I believe in that cause so much.
No, I agree. And we come every year, and we try to plan our visit to Music is Art when you're on, so that we can dance to you. Well,
this year you need to go ahead and submit, and then plan on when you're going to spin. And that way it'll be much more, I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, it'll increase your enjoyment level 10 times. And it's only an hour set.
Not bad.
I can do an hour in my sleep, so on NyQuil. And let me ask you this then. What were some of the negative things that you dealt with in the nightclub business, or things that you may have looked at or been a part or around that you were just like, that's not going to work for me? Yeah. Is there anything like that?
There were a lot of angry drunks.
Oh, yeah.
And so you had to deal with them. I was lucky enough. I had a crew who would stand in the DJ booth and filter those people away.
Nice.
But you'd have that, or you'd see people who were just sloppy drunk, and you'd see them going out to their cars, and that was uncomfortable for me.
Right.
Just from the DJ booth, you get a view of everything, and you could see things going on that you just knew weren't right.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, it was the best job I ever had.
Nice.
You can't beat. You make friends, you're doing what you love, you're playing music that you love to hear. I would sometimes throw a song on and run out to the dance floor and dance with everybody else because I love that song. You know, and I'm up in the DJ booth and my hands are in the air and I'm dancing like a fool.
Nice.
And I loved every night because every night was just full of joy.
Nice.
Getting up the next morning was more difficult.
Oh yeah. And that's why I was telling somebody the other day when I first moved to Buffalo and I realized that they were open until 4 a.m. Man, I'd never been out till 4 a.m. in the morning in my life until I moved to Buffalo. So, what was like, if you have like maybe one really positive story of something that you witnessed or involved with at a club when you were DJing?
I was fortunate enough to, through Billboard, to get some gigs out of Buffalo. So I got to DJ at this warehouse in Chicago for DJ Psycho Bitch, who was pretty famous in the Chicago area. It was her birthday. And I got to DJ with these other famous DJs and just in the booth. And this would happen at Heat too, because other DJs would come up and it was common courtesy. They'd come up and you'd just have conversations and, well, what if you try this? Why don't you try this? And I got some of the best advice from other DJs and then trying something that they recommended.
Right. And
it working. Like I think from Bill Strock, I don't know if anybody remembers him. He used to be the DJ at City Lights.
I do.
And he had some really cool things that he did when he'd have two versions of the same record on and you'd have them 4 beats off so that it was like the echo.
Oh yeah.
And you'd get that going and then you'd stop one of them and you'd hear the roar and then it'd pick right back up.
Right.
So Mike Mucci, I don't know if you remember him.
I know Mike Mucci.
He's in Florida now.
Yep. He's a realtor.
He and I would get together at his apartment on Bryant and we would test things and listen to things and we'd BPM all of our records and put our little labels on. But I think the camaraderie between DJs was my favorite thing about the music industry in Buffalo.
As a reporting DJ for Billboard, do you think that gave you a bit of an advantage over other DJs who were
Absolutely.
Not reporting for a record service?
Absolutely. I think the combination of working for Billboard and working at Record Theater, I always had access to the newest music and I got it all at a discount or for free, which, it's expensive to keep on top of things.
Right.
And most of the music that I was playing after 92 was imports because they always had the better music first.
Right.
So getting that stuff for free and getting to listen to it at the record store before I bought it. And and then I'd get my little list. I always had a top 25 list on the door. Being part of Billboard, you had songs that you were supposed to be pushing.
Right.
So I would, those would always get a little bump, but for the most part, I got to play whatever I wanted. And if there was an artist that I really loved, I'd reach out to one of the record people and say, hey, anything new from this person? And I'd always get it first. So yeah, I think I had a leg up on a lot of people. And it was just by sheer luck that I ended up in that job.
Oh, really? Well,
just in the right place at the right time.
That's a recurring theme in my time in Buffalo as well. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I don't want to put you on a spot like this, but what would you say would be your favorite song that was your go-to song, no matter what mood you were in, no matter what you were dealing with, no matter what the crowd was acting like? What song was it that made such an impact on you before you left that booth that night, you said, I gotta play this song?
For the longest time, it was Plastic Dreams by JD, because you could mix in and out of that song with so many different songs. So you could make that song last a half an hour by mixing other songs into it and then back out of it. So that was pretty much my go-to for a long time. And then I always loved to mix Din Dada into that.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, you have your favorites, and I had this one vinyl track that had a bunch of beats. Nervous Records and Warp Records and Strictly Rhythm was my favorite label at one point. and there was a song called Waterfalls.
Oh yeah.
All of that was just, there was a little record store on Niagara Street, and they had all the Strictly Rhythm stuff, and I just used to go in there, and you do an afternoon with those guys, and they just play everything in the store for you because they were so into the music, and you got ideas, and most of that stuff just was really so passionate about it.
Nice. Well, okay, well, that pretty much answers all the questions that I had for you. And I appreciate you stopping by with me here. And I'm going to get this together and load this up on my YouTube, and I'll make sure I let you know. And I'm going to make sure I send you that invite for Music is Art so you can submit and possibly DJ. Because I swear, if there are people, if someone mentioned you to me, that means that there are people that would love to see you play at Music is Art. So I'm going to send you that link. And I believe you would enjoy it. You would have a blast. Like I said, that's my vacation time every year. Even if I don't get vacation, I'm taking that weekend and I'm going up to Buffalo, and I'm going to help out Robby with this charity because I've known Robby for years. And I just think it's such a great way for Buffalo to be presented to the rest of the world, that this guy who started off as a bass player in this little band called the Goo Goo Dolls, has decided to run his charity to get instruments and music into the hands of kids who can't afford it. It keeps them out of trouble, that kind of thing. Keeps them off of drugs, keeps them, you know what I mean? So,
music is so vital in development, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, I started in band in 4th grade, and music's been a part of my life since then.
What instrument did you play?
I started with the trumpet, and it gave me a headache, so I switched to the drums. So I've been a percussionist for my life.
Wow, that's a big change. I mean, I never played the trumpet, but I played the drums. I played the tuba once. It was a sit-down tuba because I was so small. Oh my gosh, it was one of those ones, and I was trying to do this, blowing on the tuba and blowing these notes and everything. And I remember at one point in time, they ended up smacking because I passed out. I was blowing so hard into this tuba that I was like in the chair, and I was like, next thing you know, the guys come over, the music teacher comes over, and I'm like,
I can absolutely do that. Yep.
So I went to the drums, and that was much easier, but my parents didn't like that because, they didn't like me playing drums at home.
I actually chose the drums because the drumsticks were the easiest thing to carry from home to school.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, this is great. I'm looking forward to getting this issue together here and putting that up, because I think that the importance of me trying to tell people what really happened and who was involved in early days of Buffalo, because Buffalo, you go downtown Buffalo now, you got Chippewa Street, you got this place over here, you got this, and I remember it was a ghost town. There was nothing happening in downtown other than you had Crawdaddies, which had a lot of people. That was the big top 40 crowd. But other than Crawdaddies, downtown, nothing. Or, well, there was a couple other places like, what's the place on Delaware Avenue downstairs there? It's right off of Chippewa, like a block away from Chippewa.
Oh, the Underground?
Underground, that place. That's the place.
I DJ'd there too.
Oh, okay. And I mean, I've DJ'd there once before. We did a party there when I was in town. I think it was in town for the Music is Art, and we actually did a party there the night before. Great spot. I loved it. Had a great time. Marcella's, whenever I'd go to Marcella's. I had a great time. Music was always up there. The sound system. Oh, let me ask you this. What was the best sound system that you'd ever dealt with?
Club Heat had a pretty decent sound system because we had that back patio, and the music would go out there as well. And people would, when the dance floor was so jam-packed with people would go out to the patio to dance too.
Oh, okay.
But I know John put a lot of money into that sound system at the Jam Club too.
Yeah.
And that whole room would thump when the bass was up. So that was really awesome. And did you ever DJ at Rumors?
Rumors, I remember Rumors.
That was right next door to the Jam Club. At one point, it was where all the Buffalo Bills would hang out.
I do remember Rumors. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd been in there. I don't think I'd been in there very often.
Yeah, I played there one night, and that had because it had a relatively compact dance floor. So when you had the music going, it was loud and you felt it in your chest, and that's always the best when you're dancing.
Well, I know that the same thing with Cathode Ray. When he opened up Cathode Ray and had the system in there, I'd go over there, and yeah, it was top of the line. You felt your clothes shaking,
yes.
But you could still have a conversation. So that meant that whoever equalized it did a great job.
Exactly.
Because the only other place that the one club that I would say that I could be in the club, standing right next to the speaker and not yelling and having a conversation was the Twilight Zone. So that system up there, and I will say this, it was so powerful, it shook the foundation loose of the building, and they ended up condemning the building after they closed the club because they just couldn't put anybody else in that building.
That's insane.
Yeah, it is. But I still have my hearing. So
what?
We would be standing right. The first time I went to the Twilight Zone, we were out in the parking lot, we were sparking up and everything, and we walk in there, and it's like, I think it was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock when they opened up, and everything was completely pitch dark. So me, my friends, we're all walking and trying to walk really slow and not step on people because you couldn't see a thing. All I saw was one little light going around the main room, and I thought, this is the one light for the whole night? We're not gonna make it. And slowly the light started getting brighter, and I saw the expanse, and I saw the size of this place, and I saw the people there. And the greatest thing was that they didn't serve alcohol. It was an after-hours club, all ages. So I think that was a really exciting time, and it was right around that time when house music was hitting in Buffalo. House music was taking over Toronto. And yeah, I tell you, those were fun days.
That was some of the best music I ever played was when house was really big, because it was music, you know?
Right. Yeah, with singing.
Yes.
Real musicians and yeah. So perfect. All right. So do you have any big special plans coming up for this hopefully COVID less summer?
I am looking forward to the end of COVID. So my wife and I love to travel.
Nice.
And we really miss being able to go places. So we're looking for a couple like nice close to home weekender trips, but looking forward to traveling again. I love Gay Pride in Toronto.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
The street is just a giant festival.
Right.
And you can't beat day drinking in the middle of the street in Toronto.
Yeah. Look what I got right here.
Nice.
I found this at my store the other day, and I went in for my other, I have a brand that I usually like a beer, and I hate to say it. I mean, it's 11:49 in the morning on a Saturday, and I'm drinking my Elysian Space Dust. This stuff is pretty damn good. And I think I've now changed the brands of beer that I will like. And I only like beer. I don't drink liquor or anything like that, but I like the small craft breweries. Mm-hmm. And I stumbled on this because the brand was out, and I was like, well, let me try it out. And I had it. This is like the third 6-pack that I've purchased in the past month and a half or so. And I'm just like, I love it. So it's a great thing, and I'm glad. And that's the great thing about the variety of music, variety of beers. You can't beat it. So
variety is the spice of life, Andre.
Thanks for watching this episode. I have future episodes that I'm going to be coming up with, and if you would like to be the first to find out about them here on my YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click that little button there next to it for notifications, and you'll be the first to find out when the next episode goes online. Until then, remember to stay safe, wear your masks, social distance, and then, of course, as always, peace.